Welcome everyone to our Boston Conservatory Faculty Spotlight Series. This is for the Musical Theater Department, and I am so glad to welcome you here. We are going to be doing a little bit of just a chat and just talking about the program and talking about our lovely guest stories and how they got here. And we are also going to do a little bit of a Q&A. So I encourage you to please make sure to use the Q&A portion at the bottom of your screen. Please enter your questions at any time during the presentation, and then at the end we will get to them for sure. So also, this little QR code right here, if you hold your phone up to the QR code, it will bring you to a form that you can fill out. So you can download any of the admissions materials that we have. So feel free to scan that form, that QR code, and it will bring you more information about the conservatory and get you on our mailing list, and will help you learn more about our programs. So again, welcome everyone, and I'm so glad to be here to welcome Adam Souza, who is our one of our faculty members in the musical theater department. He comes from national tours such as Kinky Boots, Wicked, Les Mis, and we are so glad to have him here, and I will let him introduce our other special guest as well. Adam, take it away.
Hi, everybody. It's so strange. I've been teaching on Zoom for several months now to our freshman class, and I get to see them normally. So, hello. I wish I could see all y'all, but it's nice to meet you, and thank you for coming. I have with me one of my very best friends. We met 20 years ago, right now, at the Boco. Can you believe that, Alicia? So this is Alicia Umphris, 2000, a graduate of the Boston Conservatory with me, and a veteran of Broadway, many Broadway shows and regional theater shows, and one of my very best friends. Hi, Alicia.
Hi.
It's so good to see you.
Likewise.
Last time I saw Alicia, so I also, one thing I'll tell you all is I work for a theater here in Connecticut called the Goodspeed Opera House, Goodspeed Musicals. I am their new resident music director. So while I'm teaching on Zoom, I'm also running the music department, or whatever there is of this music department during this crazy time. So the last time I saw Alicia, she came up and performed in our gala with us a couple weeks back. So thank you, Alicia, for that.
Of course, it was so fun.
Yeah, it was so fun. So Alicia hails from Broadway. She was in the original company of American Idiot, on Clear Day You Can See Forever. Priscilla, stop me if I'm forgetting one, Alicia. Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, you were in that, and then you were in Bring It On, right? Sort of. Sort of. And then, yeah, go ahead. Tell us that story, which was sort of fun.
Well, basically, I was the female voiceovers for the show, and then I sang one of the big songs that they cheer to at the end, called Legendary.
Yeah.
So I got the credit of being in a Broadway show, and I got paid like I was in a Broadway show, but I only ever saw the show on opening night. They're like, "Oh, we have all your opening night gifts," and I was like, "What?" And I had like a huge, like a bag full of gifts from opening night, being like, "Happy opening," and I was like, I was not really in the show, but thank you. It was the best job I ever had.
The easiest job you've ever had, sure. And then Alicia most recently was Hildy in the Broadway revival of On the Town. You can find that on the recording. It's one of my favorite recordings ever. So thanks for being here, Alicia. So Alicia and I were both at the Boco together as music theater majors. So when I'm a New England kid, so I grew up here in Connecticut, and so my college choosing, I mean, I had dreams about going to Carnegie Mellon, but I just couldn't imagine going that far away from home, even to Pittsburgh. It seemed far to me. So I really only applied sort of in this general area. I got into UConn and I got into other places, but the only real MT program I applied to was Boco. And I'm thrilled it worked out. But similarly, Alicia, my path here at Goodspeed would not have been cultivated while I was in school. Every summer I was able to come back and stay attached to school and stay attached to the Goodspeed.
Yeah.
And I was able to foster my relationship with Stephen Aremus and people that I had met here at Goodspeed. I was able to stay connected with because I was at BOCO in the Northeast, and it was helpful for me sort of locationally. So I think similarly for me, like if I had not gone to BOCO, I would have had a very different life. Not a better or worse. I just think things would like I wouldn't have gotten Les Mis because the only reason I got Les Mis is because Kathy Rand recommended me for 9, and then you know, and the whole sort of getting to know you thing from and the, you know, meeting all these people, and so similarly I would have a very different path as well. It's the witching hour. It's 8:15 and my dog is tearing up my carpet, so sorry.
We love the dogs here on the webinar.
This happens during class sometimes on the Zoom, so you know, we all make the best of it.
So I have a question for both of you. What now that you're, so for Adam specifically, now that you are back, you know, teaching at the conservatory, how does that feel to come full circle? And Alicia, I know you also come back and talk to the students, and you do classes and stuff like that too. So for either one of you, how does it feel to sort of come back and be full circle and to sort of be giving back what you received when you were a student there?
Go ahead, Alicia.
Oh, well, I did the 150th. Can you believe that the school has been here for 150 now? What, 4? I mean, this was 2 years ago, maybe. Yeah. And I performed in their 150th gala. Wow. And that was a real full circle moment for me, in the way that was just like, it just felt so special to have been asked out of, you know, many classes of many amazingly talented people to, you know, represent the school and to sing, and just to come back and see all of the kids and see all of the amazing renovations and all of the work that they've done. I mean, I could barely recognize the school. There was a semblance of when we went there, but it was just so beautiful. And obviously now that it's partnered with Berklee, I mean, the facilities are just fabulous. But it was just really cool to see how it had evolved and changed, and how big the classes were, and how yeah, it was amazing. I mean, it felt very special. It was one of those, out of all of the like one-off gig things that I've done, it was one of the more special ones that I've done. I truly loved being a part of it.
I can say it's full circle for me, just sentimentally, because you know, the class that I'm teaching right now is the class that I met you in, which I think is so funny. I get a kick out of it.
Adam came on the stage. Wait, really quick. Adam came on the stage and he was like, no one had really taught. It was the first week of freshman year. And, you know, people are like,
very quiet. I was very quiet.
Very quiet. You know, nobody really had a sense of like, whatever.
Always wearing those red pants, always in the red joggers.
And everyone was, you know, kind of, you know, we're like all, of course everybody's like kind of judgy and being like, okay, we'd all get up and sing for each other for the first time. And Adam came up and sang this song called Without a Song. Is it from Golden Boy?
I don't know.
No,
Night Song is Without a Song. I don't remember.
Oh, and he just had the most gorgeous voice, and literally everyone in the class, especially all of the girls and probably most of the boys, we're like, who is that? And he just like came out of nowhere, because before that he was just like kind of a wallflower that no one was really, and then he was on everybody's radar from that moment on. I'll never forget it.
I'll never forget what you sang. What did you see? Alicia sang. Alicia got up on stage. She sat in a chair and sang The Oldest Profession from the Life.
Inappropriate,
but you nailed it. And then you sat down and I was like, yes. Been friends ever since. So full circle for me, back to the question. Thanks. Sorry, Sarah. Full circle for me is that, you know, I'm here with, you know, my best friend who is a Broadway star, and we both are sort of have realized on some level some sort of career. Sophie, leave that alone. Sorry, Sophie. But you know, that we've just sort of the full circle is that is being here right now, you know, and this. But teaching wise, being back at the conservatory has been extraordinary. The thing that I love about the conservatory is even 20 years ago and now, the focus on the curriculum in regards to musical theater And especially now that there's the relationship with the Berklee College of Music, which is the premier performing arts institution on the earth. I mean, there is no other organization like Berklee that has the outreach that Berklee has, the international outreach. There are, I had our drummer that we hired down in Brazil when we did Wicked in Sao Paulo, Brazil, was a Berklee College of Music, a satellite student down there that I picked out of the school, and so it's just very sweet that we're able to. What is she chewing on? You never know, right? You never know what they have in their mouth. Sorry. So we've been it's been fun because I've been internationally connected with Berklee too. But the thing that Berklee offers, BOCO at Berklee offers, is the pinnacle of the connection between theater and given circumstances and all the things that go along with being an actor, and then how that relates to how we perform music, and how that relates to how we dance a dance, or how that all, and then it trickles down into everything, right? But that's what I think has made me an effective music director, is that I am was an actor with y'all back at the conservatory, and it's the connecting music to situation, because otherwise, we're just singing songs, right? But that's what makes what does she have in her mouth? Sorry. There we go. So that's what I think is so wonderful, and especially now, even when we were there, we could take classes at Berklee and at Emerson. There was a consortium of schools. It was a lot more difficult because the schedules were all so diverse. Did you get to do any of that, Alicia? Did you take any?
Yeah, I took a jazz phrasing class, I think, at Berklee.
That's right. I remember that.
Half a semester. Yeah.
Yeah. And I took
I have to take advantage of this at least once.
Something, yeah. And I took a theory class. I think I took a jazz theory class while I was there. But what you can do now at BOCO Berklee is minors, which we did not have. Am I? Forgive me if I'm speaking out of turn, Sarah. That's correct, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So we used to do an emphasis, which was really exciting. And so now the students can sort of do an emphasis, but also a very formal minor that you are able to achieve and really take advantage of the Berklee College of Music faculty. And but you can take even academic minors. Am I correct?
You're correct. Yeah, there's things like psychology and all sorts of different. Yeah.
Also, which were things that were not available to us, at least easily. It would have been a huge project. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And Adam, would you mind just explaining sort of what you do at the conservatory right now, and what you're teaching, and what the class is like?
Sure. So I team teach with the wonderful Isaac Leverton. He is our team teacher for the freshman music theater curriculum. So we have, I don't know how many freshmen we have right now. Is it 71, 72, I believe, something like that. So Isaac and I are broken into, there are 8 cohorts. Isaac and I each teach cohorts of about 8 to 10. So the class sizes are really small, which is really cool. And we've been able to really connect with these students. So freshman musical theater is a choral studies class ultimately. So we on Zoom are teaching chorus parts. We do we have sectionals. We have days where we chamber days. We do note sessions. We have an app. I know you're all wondering, how do you sing in a chorus at home on Zoom? It's not easy. But what it does allow us to do is, when we have 8 people in a class, is to really, we go through the whole class and everybody sings their part along with the track to me. And we can give very individualized notes, which does not happen in a normal chorus class. You can sort of hide behind a chorus, right? So the students are really flourishing and blossoming in a cool way because they're getting a lot of one-on-one right now, which is really cool. So we are teaching choral studies. Ultimately, we're working on vocal oral postures and the difference between, we're trying to not use the word classical or classics. We're but using sort of the foundation of the golden age, we'll say, of musicals, and then tying the same vocal posture to songs and pieces from today, like songs from ragtime, and how the style is the same, but period and period is sort of represented, but they're written 100 years apart. Um, we're also doing really cool devise projects and all sorts of wonderful stuff. So that is my work with the freshmen. We're rounding the end of our first semester, and we've just assigned their final to them and all that good stuff. And I also have 11 senior repertoire students, senior rep students, where we work every week or every other week, depending on if they've chosen a half hour or an hour. And we assign rep every week, and they bring it back, and we work on the rep and just build their audition book is ultimately the goal of that class. So that, Alicia, when we were there, that was an emphasis, wasn't it? You could do a rep emphasis, I believe. So that's sort of what I'm doing now, which has its challenges on the Zooms too, because it's been really interesting to make sure that we're talking to the students about, and I'm sure even all y'all at home who are working with voice teachers, and when somebody makes a piano recording for you to sing to at a voice lesson in your little Zoom box, but that piano recording is an accompaniment, but really it bosses an actor around a lot, and it removes the freedom. I'm sure, Alicia, you've dealt with this relentlessly this past year. It's so the songs that have any give and take or push and pull, an actor then needs to go and sort of memorize what that recording does and then act within that recording, rather than do what we do and breathe and make music together, which was why I really loved, I don't think until you joined us for our gala at the Goodspeed, Alicia, I don't think I had played music with a human since before that at all. So it's been,
and I was so lucky in that respect too, because besides me and James, everybody else recorded to a pre-recorded track.
correct.
So it was just, I was so grateful that he and I got to actually perform live. I mean, it's harder for recording because you can't just punch in and do like, oh, we can take some from this take and some. You have to go full pass of everything it has. But it was so worth it. Because
how many times did we do it? Did we do it 5 or 6 times? I
think we did it 8.
Did we do it 8 times? Alicia said, I'll keep going. Let's go again. I'll do it again.
I'm insane.
So that has been really interesting working with the rep students, is just trying to find material that feels appropriate for them, while we like songs that feel a little more groovy, really, that have a tempo, so that the actor knows what the tempo is going to be. You decide on the tempo and you can perform it, rather than doing songs that have a little rubato or push and pull to them has really been hard for the actors, because it's not fair. It's not, you're having an actor act within a confined rather than live in a moment. So trying to find appropriate material for the kids students has been challenging, but fun.
That's awesome. So a lot of these students are going to be sort of embarking on college auditions pretty soon. They're going to be picking repertoire. They're going to be, really going through that grind. So I wanted to ask both of you what your thoughts are on that, and how you picked your repertoire for, school, or how you picked your repertoire for different auditions that you're performing in your careers and all that.
Go ahead, Alicia.
What did I use? How did I pick what I was auditioning for school with, and how do I pick what do I audition with now?
Yeah, like what advice do you have for picking repertoire for these students?
I think it's just always best to pick songs that speak to you, that you feel like you can really interpret well, because at the end of the day, voice, it's like, sure, you do have to have a good voice to be in musical theater, but I think at the end of the day, the people that sort of set themselves apart are the ones that can really interpret and act. To me, that's the most important thing. So pick a song that you feel connected to, and obviously something that shows off your voice. I mean, don't pick something completely out of your range, like I would love to sing, and the beauty is from Light in the Piazza, but no one wants to hear me sing that. Do you know what I mean? So, but you know, but yeah, pick a song that speaks to you on an emotional level, I think. And I also think like there's always a list of songs that are like, you can't do this for a college audition because it's overdone or whatever. For me, if you feel like you do a song that is overdone, but you feel like you can put your own stamp on it, to me, that will make it more successful than doing like an obscure song that nobody does. Because if you can take a song that everybody knows and help and make them see it in a fresh new light, that will earn you 10,000 bonus points. So at the end of the day, just sing something that you love to sing. Because it also is like your time in the audition room. Listen, they want you to be great. You want to make their job hard because you want everybody to be like, oh my God, they're so good. Like we have to accept them. So don't think that the panel is there to be like, don't be good, don't be good. And this is like in auditions too in New York. It's hard to not go in and be nervous and be like, oh my God, they want me to fail. They don't want you to fail. They want you to be perfect for the job. So it makes their job easier so that they don't have to do any work. Do you know what I mean? So if you kind of think about your audition time as your time and not their time, I think that's helpful to kind of calm nerves and be like, this is my time and I'm going to breathe and I'm going to take my time and I'm going to enjoy it and have fun, have as much fun as you possibly can. I know that's so hard because of course you're going to be nervous, but yeah. And the most memorized you can be if you're know it backwards and forwards, then you can just enjoy it more and be present.
I would I mean that's 100% what I would lead with as well. I think I've seen a lot of students, even my senior rep students or these senior rep students that I'm working with now, and a lot of when students bring in things that they're like, oh well, my voice teacher said that I really should do this song, and so this is what I'm going to audition with, and you can feel that, you could see in their eyes that they don't like the song, but someone that they love and that they trust was like, this would be good for you. You know, I trust you, trust you, you know, and do something that I love what Alicia said. It's very simple, that you love, that you know, we all have those things that you know, I used to have songs that I just loved to sing, you know, and so I would also caution you with 100% what Alicia just said as well, is you know, do something that you're comfy with, that feels warm and cozy and comfy. Don't one of my favorite stories, Boko stories, not favorite, it's sort of devastating. We were doing Chicago, what was it, when was it our sophomore year, we were doing Chicago, and I was like, oh, there's no reason I shouldn't be called back for Billy Flynn. I absolutely should. I was at least thinking I'd get called back for it. I was really working on it. And last minute, I was like, okay, I'm going to try to. And so I decided to do a song called I've Got Your Number from
Little Me,
right?
I was stuck in my head like recently, like a week ago. I could not stop.
Cy Coleman, right?
Yeah.
So it's actually a great Billy Flynn song, would be a great song.
Great song. Yeah.
Great song. And I learned it a few days before the audition, and I walked in and sung not one note of it. I could not remember one note of the song. And I walked in, and it was like, you know, at the conservatory, it's such a warm atmosphere, and everybody knows, you know the directors and the teachers, and it was like Janet Roma was behind the table, and I think was it Paul Dagnot, was he directing, and they were all behind the table like watching me try to start I tried to start 3 times, and then I was like, they were like, do you have something that you know? And I sang The Nearness of You, classic Souza, and that was the last I heard from Chicago. I did not get, like, you know, so don't sing it, but I feel like I sang it because someone would be like, oh, this will be great for this, and so trust you, and you only know if something is a good or a bad choice, and you'll know it in your heart. So I love that you said that, Alicia.
And the best part about specifically for college auditions is that you're not going in for a specific role where you have to sing a song that sounds like this. Right. You literally can do whatever you want. So pick the song that brings you joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's totally true. So should we take some questions from our audience?
I'd love that.
Yeah.
Good. So keep asking your questions, everyone, because you're welcome to ask whatever you would like. Okay, this is an awesome question. This is from Maggie. If I'm going to ask both of you, if you had to use 3 words to describe the energy of BOCO students and faculty, what would they be?
Eclectic. um, I mean, it's been so long since I've been there, so I'm just recalling when I went there. I guess eclectic and unique are sort of in the same idea. Talented and passionate.
I would say a mixture of sort of my experience as a student and as a teacher. The first thing that I have experienced uponst coming back to the conservatory is warmth. It is a very, I'm not really good at the sort of spreadsheet. I'm a music director, so spreadsheets and grading forms, and I have gotten so much help and warmth and just a lot of warmth and help and sweetness from the faculty and the students. Everybody is so warm and sweet. There's a lot of goofiness and silliness at the conservatory, which is what I think is my fondest memory as a student. Is there's a huge sort of brand of laughter that comes out of that place. I mean, each class sort of has their own language that they speak, and they're all just very silly, crazy, eclectic, unique groups of people. And then, and
Fun fact, there's a girl in our class whose mother is the person who coined the term BOCO.
This is a fact.
This is a fact.
You heard it here first. When we showed up at BOCO, I feel like I'm about to get called out for this, Alicia, but when we showed up at BOCO, all of the shirts said TBC.
They did.
They said the Boston Conservatory. And everybody would see that and they'd be like, BC, because they thought it was Boston College. So, Alicia.
This girl in our class, Bronwyn Stayok from Staten Island, her mother,
this was back in the days of AIM instant message.
AOL was big. So when AOL was like the premier web browser, mail, whatever, she's like, Bronwyn, this isn't a dramatization. Bronwyn, I made you an AOL account. I had to make a master screen name, but you could change yours to whatever you want it to be or whatever. And so her master screen name was BOCO Bron. And so we would all aim, right? Like after class, we'd be like, oh my God, hey, whatever. And hers was BOCO Bron. And we'd be like, BOCO Bron. She's like, yeah, like Boston Conservatory. My mom made it. Okay, I'm going to make a different one. We were like, no. BOCO Bron. And then I was like, BOCO Leash. And for some reason, Adam was BOCO Smokey. No, you were BOCO Smokey.
BOCO Smokey, yeah.
And everybody had like BOCO Thew was Matthew, the voice of Love Island.
The voice of Love Island.
Yeah, the host of Love Island. And everybody was a BOCO something, all because of Bronwyn Stayok's mother.
And we'd go down the back alley and we'd be like, "Hey, BOCO!" just screaming. And then the year later, the Bouncing Bee showed up, and it was the Bouncing Bee, and all the shirts said BOCO, and we were like,
trendsetters.
Little facts that I did not know, and I've always wanted to know who coined that term. So wow,
Stayok's mother. So.
That is amazing. Yeah. Continue, Adam. What were you saying?
Yeah. My last. So I was gonna say silly, and also there's sort of there is a great devotion. I'm sure all of y'all who are looking at conservatory programs understand what the difference is between a conservatory program and a liberal arts program. We started class when you're at the conservatory, and we were in class at 9 a.m. and you went to class till sometimes ballet was then sometimes from 5 to 6, and then you finished class, and then if you were in a show, in one of the many shows that go on, in a studio show or a concert, or if you were working with the gig office, or if you were in a main stage, you were then in rehearsals from 6:30 or 7 till 11 o'clock, and then you lather, rinse, and repeat, and it is a devoted community of people in order to make this all happen. So I would say, what did we? Well, I forget what my first one was, but silly and devoted, I think, are the good ones.
And warmth. I
And
would also
warm.
say accepting. I think that, and that mostly was the faculty. I think also the big difference with, and this also kind of goes back to, thank goodness I didn't get into CCM and I went to BOCO, because this was absolutely the program for me. I think I am not a person that thrives on negative reinforcement. And I don't know how CCM is now, but like my husband went there, a lot of my friends went there, and they all, I mean, a good friend of ours, Ben Gettinger, was a freshman there, and he transferred to BOCO sophomore year because he was like, I just couldn't handle it. They were so mean because they'd use basically like negative reinforcement to be like, you're not thin enough, you're not fierce enough, you're not, very militant, which works for some people. Need that, do you know what I mean, to like thrive and to be better. That's just so not my jam. And I feel like BOCO is the opposite of that. They're like, you're different, embrace that. What's unique about you? How can we make that? And to me, that's so much more interesting, which is why I feel like BOCO puts out a lot more diverse, interesting, unique, singular talents, as opposed to like, I can be in the ensemble of any Broadway show straight out the gate. Do you know what I mean?
It's also been really extraordinary to rejoin the conservatory, because just like what, along with what you just said, Alicia, there used to be a vibe in, not just at BOCO, but in musical theater, that if you're going to sing Meadowlark, you sing it like this. This is how Meadowlark goes.
Mm-hmm.
This is how this song goes. Whereas I think now, and it's something that the conservatory is really pushing, is let's find how you sing the song. Let's see how the song makes sense for you. And so what song did I just assign? I assigned Now That I've Seen Her from Miss Saigon to a student who had never heard of it, which I thought it was funny. So I gave her the song, and that song when I was a kid was like a beltress song. It was like 100% belted. And then, in this Broadway revival, that's not how they handled the song. And it was sort of done in a very different way. And it was beautiful. And just as so I think just the idea of let's find, and so I gave the song to Sabrina. I said, I don't want to tell you too much about what it is. Please don't listen to recordings. Sing it how you want to sing it. And she's singing it in a way that I've never heard the song done before, and it's beautiful. There's no problem with the individuality of it, which that is a small nugget of what I'm trying to say, that the conservatory on a large scale is really going towards the idea of actual individuality and uniqueness, which is really special.
Yeah, I think that's totally true. And I don't have three adjectives, but I have one like big adjective, and I think both of you are sort of, it's not an adjective, it's a word, but it's community. It's like it's that sense of community that I think is what like sets the conservatory apart, and it's the sense of like you're in the community not only while you're in school, but it's when you graduate, you're a part of a bigger community. And it's like, for me, I lived in New York for a little while, and I would literally walk up Ninth Avenue and I would see people that I went to school with, and I would be like, oh hey, it's like amazing how much a part of the community you are your entire life. And I think it speaks a lot to the community as well, that you, Adam, and come back and teach. And we have a lot of teachers, on our faculty that are alums, and we have people in the administration that are alums. And Alicia, you come back a lot and do things. So I think it speaks to the community and just how much we love it, and how much it fostered sort of that in us. So community is what I think. Cool. So to both Adam Souza and Alicia Umphris, can you say that the conservatory has opened many doors for you after graduating?
Yeah, I mean, I think, do I think that people look at your resume and say, oh, you went to Boston Conservatory, we're going to give you this job? No. But do I think that exactly what Sarah just said, there is a sense of community, and listen, I'll be completely transparent. Like, this business, Broadway, is, it's a lot of it is about talent. It's talent, and it's luck, and it's preparedness, and it's also who you know. A lot of it is who you know. And once you make one contact and you pound the pavement long enough and you start to like get to know people, then you finally get a shot. Do you know what I mean? So, like I said, I got my first introduction to meeting Michael Mayer from his assistant, who was an alumni from the school, who knew that I was a jazz singer, and Michael was looking for someone to sing jazz for a project he was working on. And he was like, "Hey, do you want to do a workshop with Michael Mayer?" And I was like, you know, a kid like right out of college, and I was like, "Oh my God, yes." He's like, "You can't really talk about it because it's super hush hush and the pay is like nothing." And I was like, "Yes, I would love to. Are you kidding?" You know, so I think when I auditioned for American Idiot, I had to do a pre-screen for Jim Carnahan, which was the casting director. And when I finally made it to Michael behind the table, it was like my third callback. So I definitely had to get there on my own merit. But then when I walked in the door, he was like, "Oh my God, Alicia, I didn't know you sang punk rock." And I was like, "Well," no, just because he'd only known me as a jazz singer. And so I had to earn that job, but like it didn't hurt that he knew me from working with me before, because Austin had recommended me, because I knew Austin from the Boston Conservatory. So like little things like that will absolutely happen once you hit the real world. um, but I think it's also just how you carry yourself at school, and if you're and carries on into the business too, if you're nice and easy to work with and professional, you know, it's all, you can always get the first job. A lot of people can get the first job. It's, can you get the second job with that same team because they loved you so much the first time? That's the real test. So you have to prove that you're a good person, a nice person, and talented, but everybody's talented. That's the thing. And that's the thing you'll realize if you do get accepted, and you'll show up and be like, "Oh my God, I was a big fish in a small pond in my high school and I was the lead in all the musicals." And then you get to Boca and you're like, "Oh, everyone was," you know? So you have to, it has to be about more than just that. And I think a lot of it has to do with um, how you carry yourself. And, you know, if you make good impressions on people and they recommend you for other things, I mean, a lot of it. So in that respect, I do think that yes, the Boston Conservatory has opened doors in the Broadway community. Adam, what would you say?
Sorry, I muted myself. My dog was being fussy. Um, I would agree completely. I ended up working professionally with some outside of BOCO at North Shore Music Theater, which I believe is closed now. Is that a open theater anymore, or are they still up and going?
I don't know.
But I had gotten my equity card my senior year out at North Shore, and um, my whole connection to becoming a musician out at North Shore was because a teacher had recommended me for a job, and it all just sort of snowballed from there. Um, I don't know that I like, just like Alicia said, I don't know that my attending BOCO got me any particular jobs. I mean, that's not really quite how the industry works, unless you're Audra McDonald, really. So, um, uh, um, but I would say I think it's just the idea of the sense of community while you're at the conservatory, and how, just like you said, Sarah, how it just sort of kind of filters into the world a little bit, and you know, there are still, you know, I'll be sitting at an audition for Goodspeed right now, and folks that I went to school with, or even students who have just come out of the conservatory, and I'm looking at their resume and I see Michelle Chasse and I see teachers that I had, and so there is sort of a connection there too.
Yeah.
All these questions. Which other one should we answer? Can Jeremy asked an interesting question here, Sarah, about what the school is doing to connect the craft to the real world. I think we could, honestly, Jeremy, forgive me, but I think we could do a full hour plus on what the conservatory is doing to answer that question, because that I couldn't in 10 minutes skim the surface of the depth of what the conservatory is doing. Would you agree, Sarah? It is there is an epic, and I will just say, and I think and then I would ask that you do a little research, Jeremy, because the information is there and readily available. But it was a big part of my interview process with the conservatory, just sort of my theories about what's going on currently in this world, and how what we're doing um, is relevant to so all I can say is that all I'll say to answer your question, Jeremy, is that um, what we are doing at the conservatory is vast, and I would ask for you to just sort of check into it, because every department is doing different outreach programs, from seminars and webinars just like this to actual performance pieces being done. I know that and it trickles right down into course structure and what we are choosing to perform with these students. We have a large BIPOC community in the freshman class, and so we're trying to choose material within the freshman class that's not just white musicals from the mid 1900s, and so showing the students pieces from ragtime, and also talking about the Gershwins, who did a lot of beautiful work for the BIPOC community in the time, but ultimately is music representative of an experience written by Jewish composers, right? So it's just talking about we're really trying to get to dig in and talk about it, and if people want to talk about why we're choosing to do ragtime with white students, well, the truth is that in the show the full company sings this song, and so these songs are all applicable, and they're also applicable moment to moment with what's going on in our day-to-day world. So every teacher is having the conversation that I'm touching on right now, and with the students, and including the students in how these conversations develop, because the students, ultimately we are trying to take the lead from the students and what the students want and what representation the students need and want, so and guiding them and helping them through these discussions. So I can't even begin to start to answer that question, but the answer is that a lot is going on.
100%. There's also a really great portion of our website. If you just go into the search bar and you go to diversity and inclusion, there's all sorts of action plans, and there's all sorts of things that the sort of resources for that. So highly recommend that as well. Like Adam said, to do the research. So, but yes, Boston Conservatory, 100% what you said, Adam, for sure.
Yeah.
Also, if I looked at 2 of the questions, and I think I can knock 2 out with 1 stone.
Love it.
And that is, does I'm paraphrasing, I'm not looking at it, but does the BOCO focus on any department more than the other, acting, singing, or dancing? Adam, if you'll agree with me, I feel like it's very evenly distributed. I didn't feel like one discipline had more than the others. I felt like it was very well-rounded. And there was another question that was, if I don't have any dance training, or if I'm not a dancer, is that, And what I can also say is, while dance is required, you have to take modern, you have to take ballet, you have to take jazz, you have to take tap, you have to do it. It's not so when we went to the Boston Conservatory, there was a thing called jury. There were juries at the end of sophomore year, or as the students affectionately called them, sophomore slaughter. And you were in danger of being cut. Essentially, there was a cut program. So at the end of sophomore year, you would know by the end of first semester if you were in danger of being cut. But and to my knowledge, no one was ever cut based on their dancing. Essentially, dance is more of a bonus. Like, if you're an okay singer and you're a pretty good actor, but you're a phenomenal dancer, that will be like the cherry on top to help inch you into the program. If you have 2 left feet and you can't move at all, but your singing is strong and your acting is strong, you will absolutely be fine, and you will absolutely be accepted. And it's good to take those classes, because eventually, even the characteriest of charactery actors and straight actors in the real world, while you might not ever have to go to a dance call, you will be in a musical where you're gonna have to move. Mm-hmm. So taking those classes is invaluable. It's just, you have to do it. So
I had never before. My first time taking a dance class was freshman year, and I was very nervous, but I think, to be honest, as a conductor nowadays, it's the way my knowledge of movement and just the little bit that I have has helped me as a conductor accompanying dance pieces and stuff.
Yeah. But it will never
just,
be a deal breaker. It will never be a you will be cut from or you won't get into the program because you can't dance. That's never.
Just to also be clear, BOCO does not do a cut anymore.
They don't.
Just to be clear, that is not a thing.
Rest easy.
Yeah, rest easy, not a thing that happens.
Yeah.
So there's one. The Rachel asked an interesting question. Can you please live experience? Maybe you can help a little bit with this, Sarah. All I will say is if you're doing a piece, a performance on the Zooms for your audition, do yourself the favor and have the camera there, you know, or so that you're able to look up with some light, and because a lot of the times like people, you know, that this is not a great angle to do a performance to, right? But it happens a lot because people put the computer on the table. Do yourself the favor of getting a camera up so that you can be up and act up and out. That has, you know, and some light on you. That has been my biggest note while working with students on the Zooms, is like just to get the camera up so that you have a little bit more of a direct line of the camera into your eyes rather than from below.
Yeah,
I'm sure you could be a little more eloquent about the process, Sarah.
No, that was great. But yeah, I can speak to sort of how the process will work. So after the pre-screen, if you are invited for a live audition, it will be live over Zoom, but it will be in sort of two different parts. So one part, the dance call portion, will actually be a pre-recorded portion, so it will be two combinations that we will send to you for you to send back, send a recording back. It'll be a jazz combination and a ballet combination. Then there's also a live portion of the dance call as well that's sort of like an improv section, which is really super fun. Michelle will put on some really awesome music, and she'll just ask you to sort of show who you are as a person, not even just as a dancer, but as a person. So if you know, if you've been dancing for a long time and you want to show us that kind of thing, you can. But if not, you can show us if you're funny. You can show us really whatever you'd like when she puts on the music. So that's awesome. And then for the singing and acting portion, we do, you know, 2 songs and 2 monologues, and they are on Zoom. So you'll just come into the Zoom room as if you were to come into an actual audition room, and there will be usually 2 faculty members, quote unquote, behind the table, and they will it's really like it's very similar to like a live experience. It's just that there's a computer screen in the middle of us, you know. But we started doing auditions over the summer actually, and we weren't sure sort of how it was going to go, but I loved it. You know, we have a waiting room, just like you would in a, you know, if you would walk into 31 Hemingway, you would have a waiting room in there. You have a waiting room on Zoom, and everybody sort of talks to each other, and there's a staff member like myself, and there's a student ambassador, and you just kind of get to ask questions of us and before you go in, and then you go into your audition and you meet the 2 faculty in there, and then you do your songs and your monologues, and so it's a very, you know, would we love to be in the same room? Of course. We can't wait until we all get to be in the same room together again. But it is working, and rest assured as well that you know, we will be able to see you. The faculty will be able to see you and assess and do what they need to do and do what you need to do. And don't worry too much about you know, like internet and stuff like that. If there's a glitch, it happens all the time. Actually, right before this, I said to Adam, I said, my internet has been going crazy today. So if I leave, it's because my internet died. So it happens. So just don't worry too much about that too, because everything, you know, we will work with you for sure. So I hope that answered your question, Rachel.
What did I want to say? How would you describe student life? Student life, I would just say you are living in the middle of a city amongst dozens and dozens of other colleges, and I think that was probably my favorite part about one of my favorite parts about being at the BOCO was just living in the middle of Boston. I thought it was student life. There's always something to do, but like I said, in a conservatory program, I promise you that you will be busy. whether you're in the main stage or not, you are busy. so
Yeah, I mean,
there
my biggest regret was that I didn't really see that much of Boston in my 4 years that I was there because we were always in class
way
or
too
doing
hot.
a show.
Yeah, yeah.
We're in the loco bubble, if you will.
Yeah.
Um,
And the great thing about, oh, sorry, I was just gonna say the great thing about Boston is that like there are so many students, so you feel like Boston is just one giant campus,
Totally.
within, a big city. So I think that's, you kind of get the campus experience, but in sort of like an urban environment. So
I will say that you asked, there was a question about if a class, what was that? Where was that?
There
I'm
was
not. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, to be honest, I am not really entwined with the acting curriculum these days, or what they're building that off of these days. I know it has been overhauled, and there's a huge um, trajectory therein. But I would hate to speak for those teachers right now because I'm sure that they could be a lot more eloquent about that.
That was the question I was gonna address too. And is that it's probably changed since we've been there. And also I didn't feel like every year it was based in one, like Stanislavski. I didn't think it was like based in a specific method. I
Right.
think it totally just depended on the acting teacher that you had. So every year it could be a different, base. Because if you had Steve McConnell or if you had whoever, you know what I mean?
Kiana, I can say that as of right now, second semester of so spring semester of 2021 is going to be a hybrid form, but there is no news as to what would happen at the at BOCO Berklee after that. So I think that that's as much as we can say at this point. But I
we had
know that as of right now, there is a hybrid model going on for next semester.
totally. I think we have time for maybe one more question, and then we probably have to wrap it up. But I mean, this. Let's see.
Oh, Jeremy had another question. Zoom auditions. Um, is it okay for them to use the same material for pre-screens as for the next audition? Yeah, right.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, Here's a question, maybe just to end, just to wrap it up in sort of a few words. What was both of you What was your most valuable experience while attending BOCO?
Mm.
It's hard to wrap it. It's hard to sum up. I know.
So I'm so bad with really broad general
I
questions.
would say it would be Alicia. Alicia's. I'm going to answer for Alicia. It is Alicia's star turn as the old lady in Candide.
Oh my God.
It was so good.
I mean, selfishly, it was the highlight of my performance career at BOCO, and that's only because I'm, typically a belter. I get cast in pop rock musical, and that's a very mezzo-y, soprano-y, operatic, legit role. And I really worked my butt off on that. Our voice teacher, Victor Janet, he's the best. He's no longer there, right? He retired this year.
Right.
He's still there, I think.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
I thought he wrote a new. Anyway, he's the best. If you get in, absolutely request him. He is the best. But he really just helped me get that role, and really we worked on it, and it was the most rewarding because it was the most challenging to this day. Probably, I have to say, probably the most challenging role I've ever had to do because it was so far out of my comfort zone and not in my wheelhouse at all, and it just was all the more rewarding because of it. And I hope that one day when I'm actually age appropriate that I'll get to play it in real life.
What a nonsense role. It was so funny.
It's a nonsense role. She only has half a butt.
She only has one buttock. So so Alicia's walk was really quite. I remember you explaining to me one time while we were walking down Boylston and being like, well, I just feel like her leg would just sort of fall back, right?
You wouldn't have half an ass. You'd just be like, oh. Your equilibrium would be all off.
For me, I would answer that question as I got to take my first conducting classes while at BOCO, and since then I've gotten to stand on podiums 4,000 times, and it's when I feel alive. And so those moments are I attribute to both my mentor here at Goodspeed, Michael O'Flaherty, and also um, my conducting professor at school. So while I was at school, I was allowed to opt out of some ballet classes that Michelle let me not take out of, so that I could, because I was like, Michelle, let me take it. So she was like, yeah. So my senior year, I was able to take a conducting curriculum, which turned around and sort of actually changed my life. So the fact that the conservatory is interested, and was 20 years ago, and is epically more so interested in making sure that you as an individual performer become your individual performer, not what they think that you should become. And it's and even seeing them execute what I just said and put into motion what I just said now, it's really beautiful. Like the students are thriving, and I think it's because of that openness from the department.
100%. Well, I could literally talk to both of you. I seriously wish I had a cup of coffee right now and we could just talk the whole night, because you all are so wonderful. And I just want to thank you so, so much for spending this time with us, and giving this wonderful advice to these great, awesome applicants and their families. So thank you so much, Adam. Thank you so much, Alicia. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. We really, really had a lot of fun tonight.
Break a leg, you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.